What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Fathers United podcast. I'm Nate. Purpose of this podcast is to give fathers a space to chill, come, get some information, hear some topics, feel valued, loved, cared about, and to discuss subjects that are relevant to fathers. So maybe you're a father who is going through something. Maybe you'll find some interesting information in this. Maybe you're uh, a mother trying to understand a father or a single mother trying to understand a father. You come here, you can get some information and maybe some guidance, some loopholes, some cheat codes, whatever the case may be. And that's why I started this. I didn't find I couldn't find anything like it out there, so I said, fuck it. Me and my friend discussed it, and he helped me come up with the name. Shout out to Emmanuel, and here we are. As per usual, we're going to get into the father of the week. So, this week, I got something kind of cool for you. This dad who didn't want his daughter to feel different. Honey Ray was born with a birthmark that covered part of her leg. As Honey Ray grew, so too did the birthmark. By the time she was 18 months old, the blemish stretched from her thigh to the floor. The red birthmark is blotchy in appearance, and her parents were worried that she might stand out because of it. Luckily, the caring parents had the perfect solution. Adam Phillips and his wife Tanya decided to get matching tattoos that would help Honey Ray feel part of the family. The loving parents each got a birthmark like Honey Ray's tattooed on their leg. That's fucking cool. They got a picture of it right here. Wow, it's a hell of a short article. That was it, but it's got a picture of the dad's leg, the mom's leg, the daughter's in the middle with their little. Then they got their tattoos going up and down the leg. Shout out to this father. Shout out to Adam Phillips. That's a beautiful thing. First of all, getting a tattoo. I only have two. Don't really plan on getting any more. Kind of regret the ones I did get, but it is what it is. That's love. That's dedication right there. Honey Ray is a cool name too. My daughter's middle name is Ray, so yeah, nice choice. Shout out to you, Adam Phillips. You are the father of the week. Fathers United podcast recognizes you. We don't have any sound effects, but like whoop whoop whoop. So today's episode, as we discussed last week, parenting children versus parenting an adult. And I want to talk about this because of realizations I had thanks to my dad. We'll get into this article I have later, but for right now, I just kind of want to discuss my personal experience with that and the things that I kind of come to the conclusion of. Growing up, my dad, movie, TV dad, he's from Pittsburgh, so he would drive across the country. He worked all year to drive across the country in the summertime, pick us up, drive us back. We could do road trips. We'd go see. I've seen majority of the U.S. because of my dad, just stopping everywhere, random stuff, pulling over on the side of the road. Oh, Dad, I think I saw a snake. He'd pull over. We just adventure off. One time he drove off the road in a car and we got stuck in, it was in the desert. We got stuck in like some fucking red sand or something like that. And the car was like kind of sinking and we had to get out and push the damn thing. Another time there was this bull and we had never seen a bull in real life. So he like backed the van up towards the gate where the bull was, and like the bull was far away, but like I got out to take some pictures. Damn bull starts charging towards the car fast as shit. He's like, I get in the car, I get in the car. We jumped in the car. He drove off. We thought the bull was gonna crash through the gate, but it stopped at the gate. I've stayed in Pittsburgh, Savannah, Georgia, Raleigh, North Carolina. Majority of the time was Pittsburgh though. I haven't seen a lot of the East Coast, but most of Middle America and West America, some of the South I've been to thanks to him. And then growing up and just having travel jobs later, he was amazing. He was amazing as a child growing up. We'd go to sleep. If you slept and if you slept and you didn't hold your pillow tight, you would wake up and he would have every pillow in the house laying up under it, and just you'd wake up and your neck would be fucking crooked, and he'd be like, "You gotta learn to sleep better." He's the reason to this day I still sleep like this with my pillows. I hold my pillows. Me and my sister, we talk about that all the time. We go out to eat and he'd be like, "What's that over there?" Or something like that. And we turn back, half the plate of the food be gone. He'd have his stuff in his cheek like, "You gotta stay on point." He was great, dude, taking us camping and hiking. He took us hiking one time and We got lost for like 3 hours because it's horrible directions. Just all kind of adventures and stuff, and just food for the imagination, you know. And those are the positives that I meet. Like I'm still close with his side of the family, with my cousins, because we grew up. You know, we saw each other every summer. It was something that we had to look forward to. Every summer we knew, you know, we were gonna go out there. We are gonna chill for the longest until eventually he did move out here because of inflation and stuff. Just made it it just made it unrealistic for him to keep doing that when it was just cheaper for him to move out here, get a job out here, and just be closer to us. As a kid, you don't see a lot of the negatives. You only see the positives, and that I choose to remember the positives from my childhood about my father. But with hindsight as an adult, you know, my dad was a womanizer, and he didn't hide it very well. Like me, and I am the second oldest. My brother directly under me is about 4 or 5 months younger than me. When he came out here, he had met my mom. At the same time, he had met the mom of my sister and my brother, and he had got both of them pregnant at the same time. He told me this himself later on in life. He goes to a pastor, and the pastor tells him, well, you got to marry one of them. So he goes to my mom, asks her to marry him, but she doesn't want to do it for whatever reason. I never asked. So he marries my sister's mother, and then that's how my sister ends up being born. She's the fourth. Well, we don't know if my baby brother is really our brother, so she's the youngest technically, but there might also be a younger brother. To this day, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if my dad popped up and was like, I got another kid. I think he 4 or 5 different kids by 3 or 4 different women in 3 different states. So yeah, I think in my life, I've seen my dad with about 5 or 6 girlfriends, none of which lasted for various reasons. And like to contrast that, I've only seen my mom with 2 boyfriends in my whole life, and they were long term, both of them. She's still friends with one to this day. Shout out Vander, you cool, man. She didn't bring any of that home, you know. She kept all of that away from us, and now that I'm grown, I strive to do the same thing, to follow that example. You know, you don't get to meet my kids unless we've been dating for a certain amount of time, and even then, you're gonna have to meet their mothers, or at least one of them, depending on which one you want to meet. And that's the same rule I have for them. Like if you're gonna be with a guy, before you come around my child, I need to look him in the eyes and converse with this individual. You're gonna be around my child. This is serious. But that comes from the contrasting relationships with my mother and my father. My dad told me 2 things. He told me 2 things in my life that stuck with me, one of which we'll discuss in this episode, and another one we'll discuss in an episode I'm going to have about parenting with multiple different women. The one thing that he always said to us was that once we turned 18, his job was done and he was going to be able to travel again. My dad was, like they say, a rolling stone. He turned 18, like he said. He joined the Air Force and he left. He left Pittsburgh and he went and saw the world. I can't be mad at it, you know. But when I was growing up, I didn't really think much of it, right? Like I didn't. You just hear that and you're like, oh yeah, you know. And in your mind, as a youngin, like when I look at my daughter and my son, when they see my nephew who's about to be 14, they look at him and he's grown to them. Like, you know, he can do anything in the world. And then they look at me and I'm old, right? At a young age, 18 is like, yeah, when I turn 18, I could do this and that and that and this. I'll be fine. I could buy tobacco and I can do blah, blah, blah. And once I hit 21, it's a wrap. I'm going to buy alcohol and I'm going to be a grown up and I'm going to get a job and move out. And so my dad saying that was, it just seemed normal, right? But it wasn't until when my sister turned 18, my dad really did. He packed up all his stuff him and his current girlfriend at the time, and they moved to North Carolina or Florida, one of those motherfucking places. I don't remember. At the time, it didn't seem like nothing. Like, I was doing my thing, I was good. But it's only now that I'm in like my 13th year of parenting that I realize that there is a difference in parenting a child versus parenting an adult. And when the child turns 18, it does not end. When your child is grown, it doesn't end in the way that he thought it did, and in the way that he thinks to this day that it did. It doesn't end. It isn't over just when they're able to care for themselves. Humans aren't like animals where you become old and you once you hit adulthood in the animal kingdom, you're sent out into the world and you're self-sufficient. We have the longest period of parenting of any creature on the planet that I know of. I don't think my dad realized that, and to this day, I know that he doesn't realize that, and the fact that he doesn't really affects our relationship right now. But it is because of that I'm able to look and say, and in some ways, I'm grateful because I'm able to look and know that when mine turned 18 and 21 and 27 and 35, it doesn't end. There is still, it's almost like you get to know your children as they are kids, but once they become grown, you have to get to know them as adults. It's a whole different vibe for me. One of my moms, and I'm sure a lot of you guys' moms, one of the things was, I'm not your little friend. That's true. Too many parents I see now are so concerned with being their kids' friends that they overlook the parenting aspect of it in my eyes. That's why you got these little kids bad as hell running around mouthing off in the store and doing all that. I am my children's father. They know that I love them. They know that I will provide for them. I will break my back for them. I will burn this motherfucker down for them. But I'm not your friend. You are not going to talk to me the way that you do talk to these friends that you have on the streets. And that's fine. That's what they're there for you to express these things. They know that they can come to me and discuss whatever with me and all of these things like that. But they also know that there are certain boundaries that you will not cross. Now, once they become adults, that doesn't work anymore. Now I can be your friend, right? Like, I'm friends with my mom now. I'm careful with what I tell my mom because my mom be talking. But she took the time to get to know me as an adult. And that's where my dad dropped the ball. And because he dropped the ball again is why I'm able to realize that this subject is something that needs to be discussed, because he doesn't know me as an adult, nor does he seem to care to take the time to know me as an adult. He's still riding on the laurels of, my childhood, which are amazing. And it's kind of upsetting to me that that's even a thing. But both parents to me get points for being there, because I know moms that weren't there. I know dads that weren't there. I know people that don't have any parents at all. So the fact that both of them stood by and did what they did and raised me in the way that they did, you get points. But how long can you coast off of victories past, So because of this, I personally can recognize now that there is a difference between parenting a kid and parenting an adult. It does not end. And you have to be prepared for when they become an adult. What are you going to do? And because of that, I've been kind of digging around, trying to prepare. My nephew's about to be a teenager. Well, he's 13 now. So, to me, if you got teen at the end of your age, you're a teenager. But he's going to officially be 14 this year. And it's like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't have any experience in this. I can't really go to my dad about it because there's a distance between us that he talks to my sister about, but it's because, you don't show any interest in me as an adult. You don't know me as an adult. And I don't want to, I should reach out and say these things. I call, I check on them and stuff like that, but I don't want to ask I shouldn't have to ask you. Your child shouldn't have to ask you to show interest in them. You know, to when I call you to not just talk about yourself the whole time. You know, ask what's up with me, what's going on with me. You know, you shouldn't have to. As I said I believe the Hank Hill episode of Analyzing Fathers, your interest in your children shouldn't be conditional upon the things that you yourself are interested in only. Like, it doesn't matter if what I'm doing is something you like. I like it. You're supposed to love me. So ask me about it. You know, talk to me about it. Get to know that side of me. Maybe you'll find an interest in it in the way that I did when I first got into it. But regardless of that fact, I love my dad. He loves me. I know he does. I know he'll do things for me. Same vice versa. So there's no question about that. It's just that little wall that's there that doesn't have to be there. And I'm not going to put in the work to break that down. But in that journey, I came across some literature that kind of mentally helped me understand the difference between parenting an adult and parenting a kid. Well, not so much parenting an adult and parenting a kid, but just helped me to formulate my thoughts about it, which I'm, discussing with you right now, as well as my personal relationship with my father. So this article that I have today is Adult Children, the Guide to Parenting Your Grown Kids. So it doesn't really talk much about the subject of the difference between parenting adult and parenting the kids, which is why I kind of spoke about my personal thoughts about that. This is more so about a guide, I would say, to what a parent who doesn't know about parenting an adult can do. Parenting adult children. It's one of the most difficult and yet least discussed life transition facing today's boomers. Toddler tantrums and teen hormones were no picnic, but there's an abundance of resources available for those stages of parenting. Not so much for how to parent adult children. That's why we've created this guide. Use this as a resource hub to reference for tools, help, and strategies so you can better navigate the challenges in your adult children's lives. So by adult children, it's basically your children are always your kid children. My mom still calls me baby, and all that other little pet name stuff that they do. Even though I'm fucking in my 30s now, she doesn't care. I got gray hair out the ass. She doesn't care. I am still her baby. Your children are your children. Your children are just adults now, and now you have to transition into a different way of parenting them. Whether you believe adulthood begins at age 18 or that it's less about a number and more about maturity, the reality is that today's young adults live in a very different world. Crippling college debt, a highly competitive job market, the pressure to perform and succeed early on, constant comparison with peers via social media. Because of these changes, new definitions of adulthood are emerging. That's facts. That's facts. It was easier. Like, times were harder, I would say, back then, but it was easier in a sense of there was no constant comparison. There was no endless scrolling of like, oh my God, this dude did this at 18. Oh my God, this dude did this at 15. I'm 30 something. What the fuck am I doing, right? It was none of that. There was only what you knew, what you saw, and what you spoke about. Like in the West, right? There was, oh, what word do you have from the fucking, the village and shit or whatever. Not the West, but you know what I mean. Like the old days, the newspaper, the town crier, that kind of shit. Like outside of that, you just had what you had. There was no way for you to hop on social media and compare yourself to 50,000 other dudes who have advantages and disadvantages that you don't even know about, because social media can make you look like anything. The life of a 20-year-old adult child looks totally different than that of a 30 or 40-year-old child. If you have a large family, you may have children in all three stages of young adulthood. There may be overlap and outliers in these decades. For example, more than 10 million millennials are currently caregivers for a parent or grandparent, but these are among the general milestones and markers for young adults. Little example, life in the 20s, finishing college or attending other post-secondary intuitions, applying to attending graduate school for advanced degree, looking for jobs, dating, exploring identity, defining career and life success. Life in your 30s, career advancements, relationship changes, long-term dating, marriage, cohabitation, travel, saving for a family, buying a home, starting a family. Life in the 40s, a more focused career or perhaps a career change, raising children, planning for caregiving as parents and grandparents age, continued education. Your diaper changing and chauffeuring days are over. Whether you feel relieved or conflicted about this change, it's time to embrace your adult child's independence and enjoy a new phase of parenthood. There are different ways for parenting adult children. Here are 8 ways to grow a healthy relationship with your adult children and how to parent children in their 20s and beyond. So this is something like, honestly, I probably could send it to my dad, but he'd just get upset, and he has so much pride. I have the same thing though. We quick to anger and a lot of pride. Another thing that thanks to him, I've been working on quite well actually. Therapy, reading, mental health exercises. Been really getting my temper. Well, not been really, but since my daughter was born, really helped master my temper. There's moments here and there, as life, as it should be, but for the most part, A1. Number one, recognize and respect your differences. If you and your child had conflict well before adulthood, it won't disappear overnight on their 18th birthday. Sometimes the conflict is simply the result of a personality clash, and being under one roof can intensify it. Good news, there's no time like the present to accept and celebrate the uniqueness of your child. You may not always agree with their life choices, but as their independence grows, find joy in connecting without conflict. Acceptance, man. And to accept something, you have to know something. So I think that goes back to what I was saying. You have to get to know them on a new level. I'm grown now. I'm about to get out here and find myself. I'm about to get out here and find what I like, what I enjoy, and if I like it, I'm gonna keep doing it. And honestly, there's really nothing you can do about it. And the more you push against it, the more I am going to more than likely do it, as we all know, because we were all kids at one point, and what happened? Mama said she don't like it. Daddy said I don't like it. I'm finna probably go do it. Get to know them and ignore the conflict. Keep your side talk to yourself. I had to have a conversation with my dad about that. Like, Dad, I'm not coming to you for advice. I'm coming to you for conversation. Let's chill. Let's talk. It didn't work, but I said it though, and share your wisdom and insight without being critical. What did I just say? Because your child may have a very different temperament than yours, they may not always respond well to your suggestions, helpful as you may think they be. If they sense criticism, they may even completely shut down. If you're sharing wisdom, do so with grace and sensitivity. This is one of the many challenges in parenting adult children, but it is also a strong way to build a bond of understanding and empathy with them as well. Learn how they communicate. Boom. There it is again. Learn how they communicate. I'm grown now. I have a certain way of talking, a certain way of doing things. That's just what it is. I'm not your little child anymore. Sometimes I don't want to hear that mess you're talking about. Sometimes that mess that you're talking about does not translate to what I'm going through. You knew the streets, you knew the world as it was when you were there, when you were growing up, but the world is a different place now. It changes every 10, 15 years, life is hard out here. This is just what it is. Communicate with me, accept what I'm saying, and I'll be more open to your suggestions. And that's the difference, I would say, between the relationship with my mother and the relationship with my father. She took the time to get to know me. When she comes to me with things, I'm much more receptive of it than I am from with my father, because she knows me. So she's not going to just tell me. She's telling me what she knows and what she believes, tempered with knowing who I am and what I want to, well, not what I want, but what I need to hear in the way that I need to hear. Whereas he's just coming at me with what he thinks, what he knows, what it is, and that's it. Setting boundaries with adult children. No matter what your living arrangements are, adult children living at home, adult children living overseas, and everything in between, you still need boundaries. There may be times when you're the first person they call in a crisis, and other times they'll want to figure it out with a friend first. Likewise, just because your children are adults doesn't mean you should tell them all the intimate decisions and discussions you may be having at home with your spouse or partner. Set ground rules for how to disagree. Setting boundaries with adult children may feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you do it and stick to it, the easier it will get. Boundaries are important. I would go as far as to say children, adults, animals, pets, we crave some sort of discipline, we crave some sort of guidance, I guess you could say. I can't think of a better word than that. Rules. You know, some people are anarchists, but even these people that think they're anarchists and live without rules, there are still rules. There's still things that some of them won't do, you know, and setting those boundaries. Firstly, you have the boundaries that you set with them at a young age that they should still respect, and then you have whatever it is that you guys have as adults. You know, maybe your child doesn't want to speak about certain things, and you have to respect that. But then they also need to respect that you have your boundaries. But to have those, you got to set them, stick to them, and you can't be pushing them around like they just said. Number 4, do things you love together. If you love shopping with your daughter when she was a teen, there's no reason to stop now. Maybe this is the time to discover new things you both love. Whatever traditions, hobbies, or activities appeal to you and your adult child, commit to enjoying them together on a regular basis. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think one of the things my dad liked that I didn't like back in the day was fishing, and now I understand. I'm older. I understand the piece of it all, and me and him, I would like to go on a fishing trip with him, but me and him don't. It would just turn. I think it would just turn into several hours of him talking about himself and ranting on about things that he wants to talk about, and what usually happens is after we talk for a while, I'll bring up something or say something, and he'll disagree in his way, and we'll get into it about that. Like, I'm grown, you can't talk to me like that. Like, not you can't, but don't talk to me like that. And then we're out on the boat stuck with each other for hours. So there's some hesitance there, but I know I should do it. Maybe one day. Number 5, make room for significant others in their lives. It may be hard to share your children with significant others, but these relationships are an important stage in their launch towards independence. Be open-minded and gracious as you meet this person, and find ways to get to know them without being too pushy or critical. This doesn't necessarily mean letting go of adult children, but giving them the room to grow and learn at their own pace. Sometimes, man, I'm not going to say the individual's name, but my mom met her and she immediately told me that I shouldn't be talking to this person. And, years later with hindsight, she was absolutely 100% right. But I thought she was just being a hater, as, we tend to do. My dad didn't meet too many of my significant others. But I think 2 or 3 that he did, he liked, and that was it. He never really had any tips or pointers on that part. Be a consultant, not a CEO. Tess Brigham, an LMFT, meaning a licensed marriage and family therapist from the Bay Area, says this phase of parenthood is not about running the company and being in charge of their life as you were when they were a dependent, but instead, parenting adult children may mean offering expert advice and guidance that adult children can implement. That's what we want. That's what we need. Hey, man, Dad, check it out. I got this problem going on. What do you think? And you'll tell me something, and I'll take in what you said, and from that, I'll, take the grains of that work for me and leave what doesn't, and come forward with a new understanding. We'll move forward with a new understanding, I should say. That goes into what we've been talking about this whole time. You are no longer in charge in that way. Even if they're under your roof, like, you are in charge to a degree, but I am still an independent individual. I still work, I make my money, I pay my bills, I handle my responsibilities, assuming that this individual does those things. And with that comes a certain level of authority over my own life that you have now lost, because I'm no longer dependent upon you, in that way. And you just got to learn to go with that flow, really. Number 7, be a sounding board for adult children. Create an atmosphere in which your children always feel they can talk to you, says Cynthia White, a Canadian-based freelance writer with a 29-year-old daughter and a 32-year-old son. Quote, adult children will not always be asking for advice, but rather just asking for a sounding board, White says. And in addition to keeping the lines of communication open, keep a poker face when they talk to you about stuff that makes your skin crawl, she adds. Since I became grown, I've told my mom several things. Nothing, over the top, but times when I was like blatantly lying to her and got away with it. I've told her like, "Hey, ma, like, no, I was bad. I did this and I did that, and and we had conversations, and it's more fun than anything. It's like a laugh and a ha ha, like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. Why did you do that? And she does the same thing, and it's really a beautiful thing. I would like to have that with my dad, but as we said before, maybe one day. Number 8, make family meetings a regular occurrence. If you fostered open communication throughout your child's life, regular family meetings will feel much more natural, says Dr. Richard Horowitz of Growing Great Relationships. In large families, keeping everyone on the same page can be tricky. Regular family meetings allow a safe space for sibling and parents to share issues of concern and to process hard things together. Another thing that does, and that I've been noticing too, I believe that from the Wall Street Trapper, learning stocks and stuff from him, and he and 19 Keys, I believe, we're talking about this, where they have huge family meetings, financial meetings, where they sit down and discuss money and how they're going to do this together and that together as a family, how they're going to invest in this and that, and it helps to build up the family as a whole, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Same thing they just said. Me and my family don't have regular family meetings, but we do check in on each other. We'll call and, hey, what's going on? One of the things we do, if you have a dream about somebody in my family, you call the person and you tell them about the dream, because dreams hold a lot of relevance in my family, because of my grandma, rest in peace. And even if the meeting is just you guys sitting down and having a drink and just generally talking, maybe it's not making plans, maybe you don't share anything deep, but that bonding time is really important. That's just my take on parenting a kid versus parenting an adult. And those are some tips that they have for you. I don't know if you're going through it. Maybe you're about to go through it. Maybe you're going through it now. And hopefully this helps. So now we're going to get into the horror story for this week. This one's kind of crazy. My dad wants to bring his new girlfriend to my mom's funeral. Yeah. A grieving daughter is asking for advice after her dad insisted on bringing his new, much younger girlfriend along to mom's funeral. First of all, bro, hella disrespectful. Hella disrespectful. Writing on the popular online forum Reddit, the woman said her mom, who died after battling an aggressive form of cancer, was in the process of divorcing her dad when she died. She went on to say that 6 months into her mom's diagnosis, her dad had a blow up during his birthday, quote, telling her that he could not believe she couldn't put on a happy face for just one day. He quickly moved out of the house and rented a place where he took his business trips, the daughter said. My mom was in denial until somebody close to her told her they saw my dad firsthand out and about kissing another woman. She said after mom found out, she filed for a divorce. It was a month before her death. The daughter said soon after, her dad, 56, and his new girlfriend, 27, moved into their family home. Fuck, dude. A month? Well, soon after. It doesn't say a month. 56 and 27, huh? As the husband of the deceased, most people expect him to plan the funeral, she said, but conversations with him usually turn to preparing the house for sale and dealing with the estate that he expects to get. The daughter ended up planning the funeral with her grandmother, aunt, and her mother's best friend, with her father only contributing $132 to the day's festivities. But the final blow up came when the dad informed her he was bringing his girlfriend to the funeral. Quote, when I sent him the formal notification about when and where we would be holding the memorial, he asked why there wasn't one addressed to his girlfriend, she said. He said, invite us both or I assume you're not inviting me. This dude is a fucking dick, bro. This dude is a dick. I can't even imagine. The daughter is now torn over what she should do. Should I leave the ball in my dad's court and let him decide what he wants to do? Or should I bite the bullet and formally invite his girlfriend? Absolutely not. Fuck her. You don't know her anything. She might be a great person. She might be your dad's true love, but technically he was cheating on your mom with it. It doesn't matter. They weren't divorced yet. And how dare you think that you're going to bring this person to my mama's funeral? I would be pissed. I would be livid with my dad. He would hear about that. Readers, however, weren't as forgiving, advising the daughter not to invite her dad's new girlfriend. Some went as far as to say he shouldn't be on the list either. Quote, hell, I'd be hiring security to stop her at the door if she tries to attend, one commented. Another added, I wouldn't invite him. It shows his real character when he treated your mom like he did, then making your mom's death about him. He's selfish, and to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he was already having an affair before he broke up with your mom. I was thinking the same shit, dude. I was thinking the same shit. Tell him if he can't respect yours and your family wishes, don't bother coming. That's that. You could sit back after that, because you tripping, my guy. There's no way for me to follow up on this and find out, if she ended up inviting him or not. But I hope she didn't. I hope that asshole didn't get to go. How dare you? This woman is dealing with cancer, and you're putting her through the ringer and cheating on her, and then she dies, and you move the new girl into the house, and you disrespect. Honestly, bro, my dad would have to run that fade. Like, you're not finna. That's my mama, my guy. You're not disrespecting my mama like that. We gotta run that. You gotta come in that backyard and shoot that fade. 56 years old, you can still get down. Fuck all that. Yeah, nah, fuck all that. That horror story low-key pissed me off. I wasn't expecting all that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about parenting adults versus parenting a child. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Fathers United podcast. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Fathers United podcast. Be sure to check out the Analyzing Fathers series. Like, subscribe for future notifications, and leave a comment below. Let me know any subject that you want me to research, look up, and potentially discuss in the future. Next week's episode was going to be about kids with multiple women, and we'll talk about that second thing my dad told me that stuck with me for life. And I learned a lot from my dad. Love that guy.